Show 9 to 11 a.m. here on DEV.
The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy. We walked around for 35 minutes just in the parking lot looking for this car.
The passion.
UVM schedules the way they do to get as high a seed as possible in the NCAA tournament and to get as much tournament prep as they can because they're not going to get it from their league.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
The organization should be taking care of Matt rather than Matt taking care of the organization.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show on a Thursday right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We're on for 45 minutes today, 5:30 until 6:15. Usually I say that that's a short show, but now it seems long because we've had 10-minute shows the last 2 days. So we're on for 45 minutes today up until Red Sox Yankees. We'll get to a lot of Aaron Judge stuff in the 6 o'clock hour as we wait for the Yankees and Red Sox to begin. We've got a ton of Ime Udoka stuff right at the top of the show here about the Celtics. And UVM men's basketball coach John Becker is going to stop by at 5:45. We're so packed today with stuff, we're taking no commercials until 6 o'clock. We're running right through for a half an hour, no commercials. So we're on until 6:15. John Becker in about 15 minutes. And remember, Tomorrow morning, the Brady Farkas Show, for the first time ever, going to be live in mornings, 9 to 11. Just one day. We're still going to do our afternoon thing. We're still going to be on tomorrow afternoon. But we are going to be on in the morning tomorrow, 9 to 11 a.m. I am pumped about it. If you are a loyal listener of us here in the afternoon, please bring yourself over, like us, get up a little earlier, bring yourself over to the morning tomorrow. Tell your friends, and anybody who's mad that I'm not Vermont Viewpoint, we got to help fend them off and tell them that we're okay. We're not a bad group of people. We just want to talk sports for 2 hours tomorrow, 9 to 11. We are pumped about it. I get to work with producer Danny again, which I haven't gotten to do in a long time, so we'll be on again 9 to 11 tomorrow. You can get in, as always, on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026, your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. You can watch us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and my Twitter account as well.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
And the opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber. They are Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. Here's where we're at right now with the Boston Celtics coaching situation. Head coach Ime Udoka is going to be suspended by the Celtics, and it's likely going to be for the entirety of this season yet. It is not official as of yet, but it's likely the entire season for Udoka. This suspension does not come with a firing, reportedly. There were thoughts of Udoka resigning. Now we've seen that Udoka is not going to resign. So to be perfectly honest, at this point, we have way more questions than answers. So let's just run down, as of now, what we know. Last night, around 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN reported that Udoka was in trouble with the Celtics.
Ime Udoka is facing disciplinary action with the Celtics. I'm told a likely suspension, a significant suspension for what's being termed a violation of team guidelines.
So that was last night. Then this morning, Woj reports the suspension likely to be the full season. We hear that Joe Mazzulla is the guy that's going to take Udoka's place as the head coach of the Celtics. And we also learned that the reason for the discipline from the team is that Ime Udoka engaged in a reportedly consensual relationship with a female staffer. That is all we know at this point. A consensual relationship with a female staffer. That is why Ime Udoka is going to be punished. I said there's a lot of questions. We'll get to those momentarily. But from a pure basketball standpoint, this is a humongous fall from grace. It's a huge fall from grace for Ime Udoka, who just 3 months ago had the Celtics 2 wins away from an NBA championship. It's a fall for the Celtics, who own one of the best rosters in the NBA, and they appear championship ready. And now for the second consecutive year, they are going to have a first-time head coach guiding them. And Joe Mazzulla comes in with less experience than Ime Udoka did. So again, this is about more than just basketball. But from a basketball standpoint, this is worst-case scenario stuff. You have a roster that's championship ready. They lose their coach. You have a roster that's championship ready that gets a first-time head coach again. And now it's also the absolute worst timing possible in that preseason starts next week. Media day is on Monday. The team and Mazzulla don't have a whole lot of time to talk together, work together, etc. And now we're going to go into media day, and all the conversation is going to be about this and not about basketball. We should be talking about the Celtics in terms of championship contention. Instead, we're talking about this stuff. Ime Udoka likely out for the season. I say it's worst-case scenario stuff. It's worst-case scenario stuff in terms of bad press, in terms of bad timing, in terms of bad circumstance. I will say this. I do believe the Celtics are going to be okay. In the NBA, coaches are important, but players play. And players drive the ship in the NBA like they do, unlike in any other sport. Coaching matters, and I think in the playoffs it matters a lot. But the Celtics are going to be okay. They still have great players. The question will be, can they have good enough leadership to overcome all of this dysfunction that now awaits them when they get to camp here in the next week? Playing-wise, Celtics are going to be okay. Leadership-wise is going to be their real big test. So that's where we're at right now. Celtics aren't going to have Udoka. They're going to have Joe Mazzulla. I still think they're going to be pretty darn good because of the players they have. That's what we know. There's a bunch of things we don't know. 802-585-3026. Your questions on this, your take on this, your thoughts on the Boston Celtics. Here's the questions. Actually, there's one more observation I have before I get to the questions. To me, there has to be something going on here. Way more than just a consensual relationship. Sleeping with your subordinates is a major no-no. I completely understand punishment from the team for breaking team guidelines. But coaches that get you 2 wins away from NBA championships don't get suspended an entire year for violating that policy. They just don't. We've seen people get punished far shorter for doing far more. I don't condone Ime Udoka's actions, and I'm not defending them. Sleeping with a member of your staff while you're engaged like Ime Udoka is, that makes you a jerk. But there's got to be something more going on here. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to speculate. But a year-long suspension for sleeping with someone on your staff doesn't quite add up. There's got to be something more going on here. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to speculate on what it is. But, again, people have been punished far shorter for doing far worse than sleeping with their subordinates before. Other things that I have questions about. Like, on that note, we need to find out what those other things are. What else is going on here? Because something is so bad that Ime Udoka is going to get suspended for a year. But it's not so bad that he's going to immediately get fired. This is the part that we're missing. What are we not getting right now? What information do we not have at this point? 2, if Ime Udoka is suspended for a year, is there any way that he can actually come back next season? Like after this season in 2023-24? Is there any way that Ime Udoka can actually come back? Alex Cora was gone from the Red Sox for a year, but he had great relationships with Red Sox ownership. He was beloved by the fans. He had won a World Series. He has an it factor to him. Players loved him. Players had played for him for more than one season. Does Ime Udoka have those same kind of relationships that can make it a seamless transition for him to come back? I don't know. I really don't know. Alex Cora came back, talked about his mistake, was open, honest, and vulnerable. Is Ime Udoka going to be willing to do that? Because that is what I think it took Alex Cora to come back and win over the media, win over his locker room, and win over the fans. And also the strong relationships with ownership. That saved Alex Cora. The Red Sox were willing to rehire him. Again, now he was fired, but they were willing to rehire him because of all those other things. Does Ime Udoka have those kind of relationships that he can be saved? I don't know. I don't know. Question number 3 that I have. Who leaked this? Why is this story out there? How did this story get out there? Because if this story is what we're led to believe, why was it not dealt with internally? Ime Udoka sleeping with a member of his staff is inappropriate conduct. It could have been dealt, if that's all it is, it could have been dealt with internally. Why was it not? Who put this out there? Why did they put this out there? Does somebody want Ime Udoka out and they wanted to put this out there to make him look bad? Does somebody have it out for Ime Udoka? I don't know. Does somebody believe that, hey, I knew this was going on and I felt it's my duty to report it and I'm just doing the right thing? I don't know. But this story, if it is what it was reported to be, a consensual relationship, I would think it could be dealt with inside Celtics walls. But somebody put it out there for a reason. I'd like to know what that reason is. 4, I've seen this question out there from people. Do we know the relationship was really consensual? Is it ever possible for someone in a position of power to have a consensual relationship with a subordinate? Of course, the answer to that is no. We don't know if this was actually consensual. You're right about that. But I have to think that it was a consensual relationship. Because if it wasn't, don't you think the league would be involved? When there are real serious scandals that involve, crime, and if this is not consensual, we're talking about crime here. So if there was that dynamic at play, don't you believe that the league would be involved? This is a Celtics issue. This is a Celtics decision. It is not a league decision. So no, I certainly don't know if it was or wasn't consensual for real, but I got to think if it wasn't, the league would be involved, and at this point, they're not. Other questions I have. Who knew about this? Because I've never had an affair, but the odds that when you're as close as NBA teams are over the course of a season, the odds that you could have a completely quiet affair seem pretty low to me. They seem fairly low to me. So I feel like somebody had to know about this. Were they seen in hotel rooms? Were they sitting next to each other on planes? Were they coming to practice in the same car? I don't know that those things happen. I'm just saying the odds that you could be as close as NBA teams are and not be found out are they seem low to me. So who knew about this? Because somebody knew about this. I want to know who those people are. How does this affect Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's futures? Tatum's got a long-term deal. Brown's looking for a new long-term deal. If they think Udoka's not coming back, do they want out? Do they only want to play for Udoka and they don't care what transgressions he might have committed? If they think that Udoka is coming back, do they not respect him enough and they don't want to be back because they don't like him anymore? Questions that are all fair to ask. And finally, why haven't the Celtics said anything yet? These reports have been out here now for 20 hours. No comment from the Celtics. Are they still doing an investigation? Are they trying to get Udoka to resign and they're just negotiating a settlement? I don't know, but they have not said anything. Nothing definitive, nothing cryptic, nothing on social media, nothing. And we don't know exactly what's going on here still. So it is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Joe Mazzulla set to be the Celtics interim head coach if and when this suspension comes out. Joe Mazzulla is the brother of former UVM basketball player Justin Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla, the brother of Justin Mazzulla. Justin Mazzulla, who was on a UVM team that went to the NCAA tournament a year ago. 34 years old. Joe Mazzulla. We just saw his brother play here in Catamount Country for the last couple of seasons. So earlier today, on that note, on Catamount Country, I had a chance to speak with John Becker, UVM basketball coach. I spoke to him before this news came out, so I didn't get a chance to ask him about Joe Mazzulla and Justin and their relationship, et cetera, if he knows him. But we just talked all about the team. So John Becker, Catamount Hoops coach, with me earlier today. I started out simply by saying, Coach, thank you for being with me. How's your off season? How are you?
Hey, Brady, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Well, appreciate you being with us. Look, the off season for you guys is largely over. You guys were in Montreal, played your 3-game swing down there. The kids are back on campus. The season starts, scrimmage wise, in a month and change. Kind of where are we at right now in the calendar for you? Have official practices started yet?
No, but that starts Monday. So we're still in the preseason. So we're doing, working with the guys for about 8 hours a week. A lot of skill development. We were able to put a lot more team stuff in than we normally do by this point because of that trip you mentioned to Montreal where we had a bunch of team practices. So with a lot of new guys, we're in a pretty good spot for our situation.
Yeah, a lot of new guys and a lot of guys, lost from last year. So a lot of moving parts. How important was that Montreal trip and the time together this summer, just from a cohesion and chemistry standpoint?
Yeah, it was huge for the exact reasons. Multiple sponsors and a lot of new guys, 4 freshmen, 3 transfers. And so it was really important. And with that international trip, you get 10 full practices. So that was really beneficial this summer. And like I said, we were able to get some of the foundational pieces of our system in this summer. And now in the fall, we're doing a lot more skill development, which we would have done in the summer. So we kind of flipped schedule, so to speak. But it was super beneficial. And the timing of it was great. You get it once every 4 years and just happened to fall this summer. So, we really appreciate the athletic department, supporting us and making it happen.
It was our first look at Dylan Penn, the transfer guard in from Bellarmine. And, by all accounts and the people I talked to said he looked like the best player on the court before he kind of injured his tailbone at the end of that trip. I've read a lot of coverage of him. I've heard you speak about him. How good is Dylan Penn?
Yeah, he's really good. And he fits right in with our culture. He's coming from a winning program. And so, he's really bought in early and he's a really unique game, which, he's a cool player to coach. And we're still kind of figuring out how to tweak our system to take advantage of him. He can score it. He's a willing passer. And he just has, probably the best finishing package around the rim since Trey Bell Haynes. And so he's a guy we're going to be able to post up some, which I think is going to be important because when you lose Ryan Davis, you got to have balance of being able to post guys up. And so we're working obviously with our bigs on that. But I think Dylan, along with some of our other bigger guards, Robin Duncan, hopefully will provide us balance as far as an out attack.
We have a lot of time to figure out strategy, but I'm geeking out over the possibilities of this offense here. Does it seem like it's more of a situation where, Dylan Penn is not known as a huge 3-point shooter? Is it where you space the floor, let him drive, and then kick out to all the shooters you do have? Does that seem like something that could work for this team?
Yeah, that is something that we're definitely going to do. And also just throwing it into the post and kind of him being passer from that spot too. And so, there's, it's always, we're just trying to find that balance, make sure we have enough shooting on the court so that we can get the spacing that our offense needs. And so we're still working through that. Could be a situation where we play a lot more 4 guards this year than we have because we have so many good guards and experienced guards. And so, like you said, it's a work in progress, but it's exciting, and there's many pieces there. It's just me and the staff's job to kind of figure out which pieces fit best together, and like just Nick Fiorello and Aaron Deloney off the bench last year had built a really nice chemistry and helped each other have really good years. You know, as of today, Nick would probably be a starter, and so just lineup combinations and making sure we got the right guys playing together.
You know, talk to me a little bit about leadership, because you lose 4/5 of your starting lineup and you lose a lot of your team leaders from last year, and you probably have a lot of guys trying to ascend into those positions this year. Do you view your lead that your best player should be your leader? Should it be your most experienced player? Should it just be your point guard? How do you view leadership and kind of who takes that mantle?
Yeah, it's ideal if your best players are your leaders, but that's not always the case. And you know, sometimes your best players can lead in different ways. Not both. You know, Ryan Davis was a quiet kid last year, our best player. Benny, our best player. They weren't vocal leaders, but they, you know, with their work ethic and with how they approach things, were able to lead in a different way. And so leadership is, you know, is a big thing, like you said. And Justin Mazzulla carried a lot of that, Bailey Patella, and guys like that. And now Robin Duncan has stepped forward, and it's pretty cool to see Robin become the old head and become the leader. And he's not afraid to hold his teammates accountable. And so, you know, Nick Fiorella's kind of stepped into the leadership role, Aaron Deloney in his way. But sometimes, you know, it's probably the case this year a little bit, I have to provide a roadmap for those guys to become leaders. And the coaching staff sometimes in some seasons has to carry that responsibility more than other years. And we've been really old and really experienced, the guys that really understood me and our system and our program and the expectations. You know, and you know, and maybe this year I need to, you know, I've been helping Robin a little bit more, you know, as he's kind of, you know, taking that role, but he's done a fabulous job. And you know, I feel really good where we are from a leadership standpoint, from a team chemistry standpoint, you know, with all these new guys. But that, again, will be a work in progress. We have not played any games yet. We have not really, you know, except the exhibitions, but faced real adversity. And we will certainly face that with our non-conference schedule this year. And so that's really going to be, you know, November, December are going to be 2 hard months. But I expect a lot of growth and a lot of, you know, we should be in a good shape by the time we get to January.
It's an insane conference schedule. I think the hardest for sure in the 6 years at least that I've been around here. You got a 3,000-mile trip to California to play 3 tournament teams. Then it's back to Connecticut. Then it's down to the Bahamas. Then we're at Miami. There's a lot of stuff going on in this non-conference schedule. Are all of these matchups set up years in advance, or do some of these come together later?
No, this is all, you know, happened recently. We don't really schedule too far out. There's games, you know, teams that we played every year. Those games, we just got to find a date. But the reason our schedule takes so long to release and things like that, it just takes us a long time to find 15 teams that want to play, quite frankly. And so, unfortunately, you know, and something that I got to continue to work with Jeff on is just coming, you know, finding a way to ease our schedule a little bit from just a travel standpoint. I don't mind playing really good teams. We've always done that, and we understand because of our success, that's just kind of a product of that. We're going to have to play other good teams, but the travel, the missed class time, you know, that stuff's really hard on the kids, and I don't always think it's fair to them, you know, and I know they're excited, and I know we're going to some cool destinations, but those are work trips, you know, and it's not, you know, it's not as glamorous as I'd hope it, you know, that you think it would be. But, you know, and, you know, can we raise money so we can start buying games and have teams come here? You know, it's just, and for our fans too, you know, and, you know, just have 2 Division I home games in the non-conference in the first 2 months of the season. You know, I wish we could get more balance. But because of kind of, we're not able to buy games because of our location and because of our success, it just makes it really difficult. So we have to play these, you know, whatever, 12 straight road games, 11 straight road games, which which is really hard. But on the flip side of that, I guess on the good side of that, we're going to have a lot of opportunities to build a resume, and a lot of opportunities to play tournament teams. And so, you look at it that way, the record may not be what you hope, and there may be some losses in there, which you never like, but we're going to have a lot of opportunities to play tournament teams and to get wins against those teams. And, who knows how that ends up shaking out by the end of the year. So, it's going to be a challenge, and we're, we'll be ready, and we're going to be ready for conference play. I know that.
John Becker, UVM basketball coach, with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV. Get you out of here on a couple of quick conference-related questions. This one, just explain to me the logistics of it. What happened to Hartford on the schedule? Because we know Hartford's leaving Division I. I assumed they were going to stay in the America East until their exit and honestly just get blown out most of the time. But they're out of the conference entirely, apparently, which I didn't realize was happening this year.
Yeah, no, that was the decision the league made. And I don't really understand why they have to transition out of Division One. Why, if they were de-emphasizing it. I guess maybe because they have players still on scholarship would be the thought behind it. But yeah, they're in a really tough spot, and I feel bad for those players, those kids, and Coach Gallagher and his staff. And it's just it is what it is, and they're out of the conference this year, obviously along with Stony Brook with the CAA, but yeah, it's a really hard situation.
Looks like Bryant's going to be a pretty good rival for you guys. I downplayed their entrance into the conference when it first happened, but I've rethought that over the last couple of months. Looks like a pretty strong program. It's going to be your home opener in league play. Talk to me a little bit about the challenge of a new, really good team entering the league.
Yeah, no, it's exciting, and Jared's done a great job down there. They won the Northeast Conference last year, and we've played them. What year it is? 2014, 2015, when Joe O'Shea, local Burlington legend, was on that team, and we got blown out down there. It's a hard place to play. It's a small gym, but they get a lot of students, and it's a tough environment. So it's a great addition for our league, and we look forward to the challenge. It's and learn a new opponent, new league opponents, and what they do and how they play. And, we'll get to that in January. But, it's a really good addition for our league.
Well, a month and change until the first time we'll see the Catamounts on the court at Patrick Gym with those first scrimmage games at the end of October. John Becker, Catamount Hoops coach, team with a lot of turnover, but a lot of excitement as always, and we'll be chronicling it every step of the way. Coach Becker, we appreciate it. Good luck as practice gets ramping up on Monday.
Yeah, thanks, Brady. I appreciate the coverage and having me on.
Absolutely. That was John Becker with me earlier in the day talking about UVM men's basketball. A lot of good nuggets there. A couple of things really that stood out to me. One, Dylan Penn, right? Like, we were told this kid's good. John Becker's telling us, yeah, he is that good. And he sounds like he's going to be the centerpiece of what they do. He's going to be the guy who holds the ball. He's going to be the guy who makes passing decisions. He's going to be the guy who can score. They can play him in the post. I also took away from the conversation that we're right to say the biggest questions about this team are in the post, because you lose Ryan Davis. Nick Fiorillo is not really a traditional post player. So John Becker says we're going to put Dylan Penn in the post. We might play four guards. It doesn't sound like, at least as of now, just getting the ball to a young Perry Smith Jr. or somebody and letting him bully his way in the post is at the top of their to-do list. So it sounds like they are planning for a team that is more creative with their offense and more guard-driven. I also took away his frustration at not being able to get more home games. I mean, he's telling you, I got to work with the administration here and figure out how to get us more home games. We need to be able to fundraise, or I want to fundraise to get buy games. I want to pay teams to come play us because we're tired of going on the road, exhausting our kids, and taking them out of class. We'll have much more on this as the preseason goes on for UVM Hoops, but it was good to catch up with John Becker there. Peter in Williston's watching on Facebook Live. He says, good interview. We'll be right back. We'll talk about Yankees, Red Sox, and Aaron Judge. That's next on DEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Linda Kenyon in Washington. Bermuda is bracing for Fiona. Bermuda's Minister of National Security is urging residents to heed storm warnings.
The island can expect to experience 5 to 6 hours of 50-plus knot winds in the early hours of Friday morning during the peak of the storm.
Hurricane Fiona already ravaged Puerto Rico. President Biden says the federal government will help.
I've authorized 100% federal funding for debris removal, search and rescue, power and water restoration, shelter and food for the whole month. 100%.
The federal judge in the case of those documents taken from Mar-a-Lago has revised her directive to the special master following an appeals court ruling.
The appeals court panel said the Justice Department can proceed with its criminal probe into the handling of roughly 100 documents marked classified, and that those documents should not be part of the special master's review of whether they're either Trump's personal belongings or somehow protected by privilege. And CBS News has learned the criminal investigation into the handling of those documents is once again underway.
CBS's Stephen Portnoy. More backlash for Russia's president.
If Russia stops fighting, the war ends. If Ukraine stops fighting, Ukraine ends.
Before the United Nations Security Council, the U.S. Secretary of State slammed Russia's war on Ukraine and Russian President Vladimir Putin's order to mobilize thousands of reserve fighters.
That President Putin picked this week, as most of the world gathers at the United Nations, to add fuel to the fire that he started, shows his utter contempt for the UN Charter, for the General Assembly, and for this council.
That report from CBS's Deborah Alfarone. In Iran, protests over the death of a 22-year-old woman detained by the country's morality police for allegedly wearing her headscarf improperly. Her father speaking through an interpreter.
I still cannot believe she's dead. I don't want to believe she's not alive. The authorities made up a lot of lies. Iranian state media are saying she had health conditions before, but that's a lie.
Reports indicate she was severely beaten. And as for the protests, at least 9 people killed. The Pentagon will soon cut grocery prices. Press Secretary Brigadier General Pat Ryder.
This applies to essentially, most products in the commissary, but in particular, it's going to affect staples like bread, milk, eggs, as compared to grocery stores that are off installation.
Boeing has agreed to pay $200 million to settle allegations the company and its former CEO misled investors about the safety of its 737 MAX jets. This is CBS News.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance, so you only pay for what you need. Visit libertymutual.com to learn more.
Discover Waterbury's spectacular foliage while playing the Waterbury Adventure Challenge. There's still time to start or finish playing before the game closes on October 11th, and it's a great way to experience the best of Waterbury. With a little bit of hiking, a little bit of history, and a whole lot of mystery, it's the perfect way to explore town while enjoying the fall colors. Gather your friends and family for an awesome adventure as you work to uncover the mystery on your own schedule at any time between now and October 11th. Discover more of Waterbury with the Waterbury Adventure Challenge. Learn more at discoverwaterbury.com.
Anytime is the time for ice cream. Ben & Jerry's Waterbury Scoop Shop has all your favorite flavors available to be scooped into a cup, a freshly baked waffle cone, a hot fudge sundae, blended into a milkshake, or even packed to create the most delicious ice cream cake ever. So many Ben & Jerry's flavors to choose from, including our iconic lineup, non-dairy options, and for your four-legged pals, our doggy desserts. We're open Tuesday through Saturday. Give us a call, swing by, or order online. Your taste buds will thank you. Peace, love, and ice cream from Ben & Jerry's.
Racing on WDEV is brought to you in part by Gillies Sales and Service, Route 14 in East Montpelier, Chips Auto and Tire in Randolph, Ted Green Ford in Stockbridge, Optical Expressions in the Berlin Mall, and RK Miles with 10 locations and rkmiles.com. Season-long racing coverage on your racing station, WDEV AM and FM.
Hey everybody, we are
Lady Antebellum.
When we started out in Nashville, we never imagined what we were going to be able to achieve. We got here because we worked together and had each other's backs.
In America, we have the privilege of being a diverse society made up of people from all kinds of backgrounds. And that's a big part of what makes this country such a great place to live.
When we put aside our differences and work together, there is no challenge too great to overcome. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Red Sox baseball coming up here in about 10 minutes. We'll have the lineups for you ahead of game one of this weekend series with the Yankees. And the big story of this game, the big story of this series is Aaron Judge going for history. Yankees outfielder Aaron Judge stuck on 60 home runs right now. One more ties Roger Maris for the all-time American League record of 61. Two more, obviously, gives him the all-time record of 62 and counting. And I've got to say, and I feel really bad about this. I honestly do. The home run chase that Aaron Judge is on, I'm not that into it. And I'm really not as impressed by it as I know I should be. I know I should be impressed by this. Buster Olney, I spoke to Buster today. That interview's online. Buster told me this is the greatest hitting season in baseball history, and I'm not impressed by the home runs. I want to make my position very clear. I am thoroughly impressed by Aaron Judge's full body of work this season. He might win the Triple Crown. That's incredible. He stayed healthy. That's incredible. He's putting together the greatest contract year in the history of sports. That's incredible. I am impressed by Aaron Judge's overall season, and I know how special it is. But the home run chase, it doesn't interest me that much. Home runs don't do it for me like they used to. I feel bad about that. I feel guilty about that. I have told you all year how hard it is to hit, and it's incredibly hard to hit. Shifts, harder pitching, more bullpen arms that are good, analytics, all the above. Hitting is really hard. I should be impressed by this chase. I'm not that impressed by it. The home runs don't interest me that much. The overall body of work, I'm all in. Triple Crown, turn down 240 and go get more than that, that's incredible. 60-plus home runs doesn't do it for me like it used to. And I've really tried to sit down and think about why I'm not into this as much. And part of it, I hate the Yankees. I'm sure that's part of it. I cannot stand the Yankees. Especially, except for them playing the Red Sox, I've watched maybe 2 Yankees games all year. I have no interest in that team. I have no interest in watching that team. So I wasn't in on the Judge chase at the start of the year. I can't just get into it at the end of the year. That's probably part of it. The other part of it is, Red Sox have been out of this for weeks now, right? Red Sox season's been over for 3 weeks since they lost 3 of 4 in Kansas City. As the Judge chase is heated up, my AL East interest has waned. I watch the Red Sox, but we've talked about them less in the last couple of weeks because their season has been over. I'm watching less AL East baseball in general because those teams no longer matter to the Red Sox. So I've been kind of checked out on the AL East. That probably is part of the reason I'm not into Judge either. But really, I just keep coming back to home runs just don't do it for me like they used to. And again, I feel bad saying this, but they just don't. I've seen home runs before. I've seen Bonds hit 73. I've seen McGuire hit 70. I saw McGuire hit 62. I've seen Sosa go for more than 60. Over the last few years, we've seen record numbers of home runs hit all across baseball. Players have been genetically built now to hit home runs. Their swings tailored to hit home runs. Everyone for the last 5 years has been hitting the long ball. I've become kind of desensitized to it. What impresses me now is that Aaron Judge is a great all-around hitter, that he no longer strikes out, that he draws a walk, that he leads the league in on-base percentage, that he leads the league in batting, that he's also going to lead the league in home runs. That, to me, is the impressive stuff. The overall hitting ability as opposed to just the home run hitting ability. I've seen Adam Dunn hit 175 and hit 50 home runs. Guys can hit home runs. So the home run chase doesn't do it for me like it did in 98. What does it for me is the overall greatness that Judge is exhibiting. And so I don't know. Again, I feel bad. I should be in on the home runs, but I'm just not. Tex says, whoever signs Judge is not likely to ever see this kind of season from him again. The Triple Crown is awesome. I love the home run chase because I'm old and it's a Yankee thing with Maris, his family there cheering him on. You know, that's fine. That's fair. I was in 98, right? I was a young kid. I was being told that what we were watching was historic and that we were watching it hadn't happened in 40 years. Or 37 years. I'm just desensitized to home runs. Everybody hits them now. Everybody can hit them. A couple of years ago, guys that weren't any good were hitting 30. Jake Lamb hit 30 home runs a few years ago. Like, guys can hit homers. What guys can't do now is hit. So the fact that Judge can do that, the Triple Crown to me is far more impressive. And by the way, the Judge home run chase to me isn't as good as the Pujols home run chase to me. I don't know how you feel about this. 802-585-3026. Albert Pujols is going for 700 career home runs. That to me is more impressive. Albert Pujols' career was left for dead 4 or 5 years ago, right? Goes to the Angels. They're not any good. Foot problems, injured a lot. All of a sudden, at 42 years old, he's on this hot streak. He's on this heater that we haven't seen from him in years. The longevity thing to me is incredible. Doing this at 42. Albert Pujols is 10 years older than me, and he's out there just hitting bombs. Getting 700, he was already a Hall of Famer. That's in the inner circle of the Hall of Fame. You're talking the most rare of rarefied airs if you hit 700 home runs. That, to me, is more interesting than what Judge is doing from a home run perspective. So one text says, I can't wait to see Judge get this record against the Red Sox. I'll tell you this, as a Red Sox fan, I don't really care if Judge gets this against me. Like, I'm not affected by it if he does. And I think in a couple of years, we're not going to remember who gave up the homer. It doesn't mean as much as McGwire's did. It doesn't. The American League record does not mean as much as the actual record. And I just don't, McGwire hit 70. And I understand everyone will say, oh, this one's the clean one. And that's fine. I can respect that. Like, I remember that McGwire homered off Steve Traxel. That's it for 62. I don't remember any of the other pitchers. I think Mike Bassett gave up 70-1 to Bonds or something like that. But I can't remember that stuff. I'm not going to remember that it came against the Red Sox for Judge, and I'm not going to remember who gave it up in a couple of years. So I don't think the Red Sox are going to be on the wrong side of history if they give up this home run to Aaron Judge. He probably will do it this weekend. He might hit 61 tonight. Michael Wacha is pitching tonight. Wacha's had great numbers against Judge. So, if you're into the jinxes kind of thing, Wacha's dominated Judge. That means Judge will probably do it tonight. Michael Wacha, 11-1 with a 2.61. Jamison Tyone, 13-5 with a 4.04. That's your pitching matchup. Tommy Pham's in left. Rafi Devers at third. Xander Bogaerts is at shortstop for the Sox. Alex Verdugo in right. JD Martinez, the DH. Tristan Casas is at first. Kike Hernandez in center. Yu Chang is at second. And Connor Wong is the catcher. For the Yanks, Judge in right, 60 and 128. Anthony Rizzo hitting 226. He's back at first. Gleyber Torres is at second. Josh Donaldson's at third. Giancarlo Stanton, the DH. Oswaldo Cabrera's in left. Harrison Bader is in center. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is at shortstop. And Kyle Higashioka is the catcher, and he bats ninth. The Yankees DFA'd today Miguel Andujar, ending the Miguel Andujar era there in New York. On Aaron Judge, a little bit more about his statistics. It is pretty, but he's leading the world in almost everything right now. He's leading in batting average, on base percentage, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, total bases, walks, homers, RBIs, runs scored. Yeah, and again, he might win the Triple Crown. Reminder, Brady Farkas Show tomorrow. We're doing double duty, 9 to 11 in the morning, and then we're back 5:30 until 6:10. So 2 shows tomorrow, 2 hours in the AM, 40 minutes in the evening, and we'll get you ready for the Patriots and the Ravens. Go Sox, everybody, on DEV.